everybody, and welcome to Module 1 of the EDUC class. I just wanted to give you a quick introduction to the module. The first thing I would recommend, and I'll say this probably throughout the rest of the semester, is that you look in sort of the upper right-hand corner of the module checklist page, and where it has that dot, 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 you want to click that dot, 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 and then click the print button and try to actually print out a paper copy, and that's what I've done here. And I urge you to do the same thing, and then as you work through things, check it off. That's one way that you'll help yourself stay on track and know that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, because sometimes it's a little bit hard to tell, and there's a little anxiety in online classes, I think, when you can't instantly ask somebody that's sitting right next to you, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Well, this checklist will definitely tell you what you're supposed to be doing. Okay, so in this module, we are going to be reading 3 chapters from the textbook. Chapter 1, which is just sort of an overview of education and what schooling is and what it is to become a teacher. There's a textbook video that you'll see in the module that I'll want you to watch. Chapter 6 is all about developing your educational philosophy, so you're going to read these different sort of takes that you can have regarding educational philosophy. I know when about 12 years ago, when I had to craft my own educational philosophy, I didn't really know, I didn't have a chapter like this, what you're about to read, to kind of guide me about the different approaches. I was just told, to write one kind of cold, not without any background, but this chapter is really great for showing you that there's a lot of different things that you want to think about when you craft your initial educational philosophy. And then what you're going to actually end up doing, just to jump up, you're going to write your first philosophy paper and submit that to the Dropbox by the end of this module. Well, how long is this module? I'm skipping over, I'm looking over at the course plan, which I have printed also. Another thing that you always want to be really on top of. It's a 3-week module, so that philosophy paper is due in the 3rd week, but then you'll remember that discussions have to be done on a weekly basis. So make sure that you get your Chapter 1 discussion sort of done in the first week, Chapter 6 in the 2nd week. That's the chapter, again, about educational philosophy. That's why I have you reading it in the 2nd week and not waiting, another month. That way you kind of start thinking about that, and that gives you a foundation for writing your philosophy paper, which is due at the end of the 3rd week. Chapter 2 is a chapter all about individual differences, and it takes a look at a variety of ways of thinking about difference, from special education perspective to multiple intelligences and other ways that you can think about diversity in the classroom and how you need to prepare yourself to begin to think about that. There's also a couple of videos in the Chapter 2 section that I want you to watch. Okay, so you do have your philosophy paper. There's 2 philosophy papers that you write. This first one is sort of you're writing it after you've read that Chapter 6 and you've had a discussion about educational philosophy. Then later in the semester you'll write a second short philosophy paper that sort of talks about some changes that maybe have that you want to make, some tweaks that you make to your educational philosophy. So we'll talk about that second paper a little bit later in the semester. Something I noticed when I was previewing the module was that when I open up, like if you were to you're looking at the module through the content button, and if you go to discussion Chapter 1 and you try to open that up, I noticed that it's totally blank in terms of what are we supposed to be responding to. And so something that I found a discussion setting that you'll want to try to change. Hopefully when you make this change to your discussion setting, it will actually keep. Sometimes the higher institution has some settings that you might make a temporary change and then they'll override it with some reboot or something of some master machine somewhere. But hopefully this discussion setting will keep. If you go into your discussion settings, and I've actually given you a screenshot of what this looks like. You want to click on, well, I don't have it in front of me right now, but I gave you a screenshot. So if you look in, it's the 1, 2, 3, 4. I think it's the 5th item in the introduction section of the module. So this item down here is all about how you can change your discussion settings so that you can actually view the prompt. You can view the prompt if you actually go up to discussions, and it'll show you there, and you can read what you're supposed to actually be talking about in your discussion response. But this way it'll show it to you inside of the module. Okay? Something that I had to decide to do was I'm going to make all of the drop boxes show that everything's due on April 24th. Now, everything is not really due on April 24th. That's our sort of dead deadline for the class. I don't want any more, I don't want any work after that. I want everything must be in by that point. But that we have other deadlines. So we have real deadlines in this class. So if you remember the course plan, things are basically due. Module work, like orientation module work, was due Sunday, January 20th at midnight. In this module, what we're calling Module 1, everything is due by February 10th, okay? So the philosophy paper 1 is due by February 10th. You can, review that, look on the course plan. It tells you philosophy paper 1, due Sunday, February 10th. In Module 2, which runs from February 11th to March 10th, the Diverse Learners Project is due March 10th at 11:59, even though the drop boxes say April 24th. Now you might wonder, why are you putting April 24th if that's not the real deadline? Well, it's so that you can actually access your drop boxes all semester. Sometimes there might be a back and forth where I say, I grade something, and it could be that I want you to go tweak something, and then you can, garner extra points or something like that. And this gives us more flexibility and maneuverability with the drop boxes and submitting work. I want you to be able to access things. But you need to make sure that you're turning things in, okay? And don't just say, she said everything is due April 24th. That's not the case. You will not pass the class if that's the way you think about it. So I know you want to get your work in a timely fashion. Another thing that I learned about last week was how to use the calendar tool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually use the calendar tool to input all of the deadlines, and it's really neat. And I have to go do about an hour's work, or maybe 2 hours, and then I'm going to make an announcement. I'm going to teach you how to use it, because it's not totally obvious how you do this, but you just do a few button clicks, and what it does is it creates this fabulous page full of, it shows you what all's due, it's in chronological order, and it even, if you click on it, you can actually go back to the module where this particular thing, this particular item takes place. So it's really cool because it shows you everything. It's sort of like the course plan, but it's displayed in a different way, and it's in D2L. So it will be very clear about all of this in D2L, so it'll be very redundant. And hopefully that will help you also to not get confused about, when things are due. But if there's any confusion, remember this course plan, okay? If you guys would like to have some online meetings, I'm becoming familiar with our new Blackboard Collaborate tool that we can use to do that. And so we may do that. There's two main reasons I see us having an online meeting. One would be to just talk about what we're reading about in the textbook, and just some sort of issues you're learning about in hot topics, and your educational philosophy and things like that, and just have a sort of casual conversation about that. And then the other reason would be just to answer general questions. So it could be sort of an open, I could just be online to do sort of live online office hours in Blackboard Collaborate. If you like that option, that would be another way to do it. And it'd be less about talking about content in that venue, and more about just making sure you're doing what you're supposed to do, kind of in a public format. So I'm open to that. Let me know if you're interested in that. And then I'm going to give you a few more specific guidelines as you enter your field experience settings. A lot of you most of you have gotten approval. I know I have a few more to do today on MLK Day to go respond to. So I'm going to be giving you a little more specific guidance on what you want to be looking for as you begin your field experience, okay? So it's going to tie back to the course objectives and what this class is about. It'll just be some recommendations so that when you have to sit down to write a reflection paper, you're not just drawing a blank like, I didn't really have anything specific I was thinking about. So I'm going to be looking at that field experience, those expectations, a little more closely this week, and try to give you more specifics. It won't be contradictory to what is there. It will simply add to it and maybe give you more specific lens through which to look at things. And I don't think it's going to harm anything. If you've already, maybe you're going to start your field experience tomorrow, just go in there and just look at the course objectives for this class. And what you want to do is just be able to talk about, what are you seeing here that maybe helps your understanding of teaching. Like if you're in a public library and you're observing families in the library, what are you seeing that maybe a teacher could be aware of? What do you notice about the families? What are they doing there? You know, if you're in an after-school program, maybe the Boys and Girls Club, what can you take from this experience that will help you as a teacher? So that's kind of what I'm going to be. That's the kind of thing I'm going to try to tell you, but I'm going to try to type up maybe a one-page document to better guide you on that and what you want to look for. All right, so let me know if you have any questions or comments or concerns. Send me messages. I think I'm pretty good at staying on top of them. I did have a lag of a few days, probably in that first module, where I did not come in and respond on the discussion board. I know I was silent, and I apologize. I am learning how to use D2L alongside you guys. I'm pretty much on top of it, but it's taking a little bit of time for me. So my main challenge this week will be to clarify the field experience and to grade. So to learn how to grade, that's something I'm also learning to do, because grading discussions is a lot different in D2L from Blackboard. So it's going to be a little bit awkward and more time consuming. And so I apologize if you feel like it's taking me too long. And just feel free to ask any questions if you're concerned about anything. All right, thanks.